Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Welcome to the show. I'm Lisa Williams. Today, my guest is Delores Bunch-Keemer. And though Delores has made a lasting name for herself, she is also the daughter of Cleopatra Jones, an activist during the Civil Rights Movement and a community leader for 50 years. Delores is very active in the nonprofit sector. She is the executive director of Giving a Hand, Inc. Giving Hands is a nonprofit organization that provides nonprofit agencies and public schools with resources such as food, clothing, medical, and office supplies, things that they need to serve others on a daily basis. Delores is also very active in making a difference in Atlanta's homeless community. Delores is a presidential fellow and graduate of Kennesaw State University. She is also a member of several committees, including the Homeless Awareness Week Committee, as well as a member of several civic organizations, including the NAACP, Friends of the Library at KSU, Golden Key International Honors Society, and many more. Although Delores has been honored by several groups for her outstanding leadership and commitment to excellence in the community, working with the homeless initiatives is where her heart is. In 2015, she received the Phenomenal Woman of the Year award. Delores previously worked on Wall Street and held several licenses to solicit commodities, securities, variable annuities, and life and health insurance. Her career path ultimately changed after she was appointed by Governor Purdue to work as an intern in the office of former President Jimmy Carter. President Carter's humanitarian efforts and impact on the world inspired Delores to emulate him and commit to being a catalyst for change in Atlanta. Delores is doing just that as the executive director of Giving a Hand, Inc. Giving a Hand was created in the memory of Delores' mother, Cleopatra Jones, her mentor and role model, and a true inspiration for Delores. Cleopatra Jones raised 12 foster children and 10 of her own. Delores says, "It ain't easy being me." Welcome to the show, Delores Bunch-Keemer.
Thank you for having me.
We're glad to have you. Well, let's get started. Today, we're going to talk about the growing number of Black women in business, how we've evolved, and what it'll take to help African-American women in business run successful businesses. Let's get started. Black women have always had an entrepreneurial spirit. From our great-grandmothers who cleaned houses for a living and sold fish dinners at churches, to the many African-American women who rose to the tops of their industries, including Michelle Obama, the first African-American First Lady of the United States, Sheila C. Johnson, founder of BET, becoming the first African-American woman billionaire, Oprah Winfrey, having the #1 daytime talk show in America, Serena Williams, #1 in women's singles tennis, Janice Bryant, owner of the largest minority woman-owned employment agency in the United States, and Ursula Burns, the first African-American woman CEO of a Fortune 500 company. And of course, the list goes on and on. In fact, according to the 2015 State of Women-Owned Business Report, the number of women-owned businesses grew by 74% between 1997 and 2015. The report also stated that 33% of women-owned firms are owned by minority women, and Black females are amongst the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs in the U.S. It's wonderful to know that African-American women entrepreneurs are the fastest growing segment of entrepreneurs in the U.S. What a great statistic. So it's important that we don't let this momentum die. Now, more than ever, African-American women entrepreneurs need resources available to help them not just be in business, but grow in business. The biggest hurdle African-American women business owners face is that many are first-generation entrepreneurs, and they lack exposure to other Black women in business that have successful businesses from which they can glean habits and proven processes from. Let's look at an example of just how important having a role model accessible to you can be. Here's what Jessica Alba, actress and CEO of The Honest Company, said about having someone that you can call on.
As far as mentors go, countless. I was not shy about making phone calls to many people. I've been fortunate enough to know people like Tory Burch and Diane von Furstenberg, and they, got lots of emails and phone calls from me along the way with tears in my eyes saying, I don't know if this is possible. Why is everyone telling me no? What do I do? What does it even mean to get venture capital? What is venture capital? What's a board? I just didn't know all these business terms. And so they helped me understand it. And it's nice having women that you can look to and rely on.
Incidentally, her husband, Cash Warren, a Yale graduate, producer, and tech investor, introduced Jessica to his childhood friend, Brian Lee, an entrepreneur who co-founded LegalZoom. And the women Jessica reached out to, Tory Burch, who is a New York fashion designer, and Diane von Furstenberg, who is a billion-dollar fashion designer. Unfortunately, most African-American women don't have the same access and connections that Jessica Alba was blessed with. Black female entrepreneurs need a supportive network of African-American women business owners that we can learn from. It's time to talk, share, and provide resources and roadmaps to Black women in business. We need successful mentors to inspire African-American women on their journey in business. I have lined up a variety of successful, prominent, and leading African-American women in business across many industries to share their paths and secrets to their success. They will discuss their journey not only as women in business, but more importantly, how they grew successful businesses in spite of the unique challenges faced by African-American women business owners. Forgive my cloudy voice, but the show must go on. So let's get into the show.
So, Delores, I can't wait to hear your answer. How do you feel about being a part of this historical time for African-American women in business?
I think it's a phenomenal time for African-American women. I think that we have such a opportunity to be able to not only affect the community, but also be able to affect the world. We can bring innovation, and we're kind of getting at the same type of playing field as men, where men are starting to respect our input as being normal. So I really believe this is a really good time for African-American women.
Yeah. So, Delores, a good story isn't a good story until we can understand where you started. Can you tell us, how'd you get started in business?
Well, I actually was on Wall Street for 15 years before I actually went back to school and started a nonprofit. So being on Wall Street, you work for a firm, but you are somewhat of an independent contractor. So everyone that's sitting in a room that's working as a broker is really their own business. Each one of those desks are really their own business. So I was in business really for myself for 15 years before I actually went out on my own, but it was just a different kind of business setting. In doing nonprofit, President Carter really encouraged me to do that because I would never have even thought about doing nonprofit work. I was just doing it to help people. And he was the one that told me I probably would never go back to Wall Street.
How about that? So tell me, what do you do now and who do you help with your company, with your nonprofit?
Well, we have a nonprofit agency called Giving a Hand, as you introduced us. We do 5 different components here. One is the outreach and resource component, which you mentioned, which is we give resources away, but we also help the community with resources. We do therapeutic case management, so the case managers actually and the psychologists can actually diagnose different disorders as well as address different issues with individuals so that we can help them go forward. We have workforce development. We have child care. And then our newest component, which we're in the process of developing, would be a housing component for children. Our main mission is children because my mother that was her mission. So we want to make sure that we stick to what her foundation was in order to move forward.
Absolutely. And do you want to take a minute and just talk about her for a moment?
My mom was a superwoman. I say it all the time that I know that she's up in heaven, and she's probably had Martin Luther King and Frederick Douglass painting. They're probably on their 12th painting up in heaven because
I love it.
She's moving the furniture around. I'm sure they've moved the furniture around at least a dozen times. But that's the kind of person that's the kind of person she was. She was definitely a dynamo. She was such an inspiration to me. She to see her work a room. My mom only had a 7th grade education. Her mom, when she was growing up during the Depression, told her that she didn't need to go to school. All of her other brothers and sisters graduated, and she told her she didn't need to go to school because she had mother wit. So my mom never finished school. That's why school was a big thing to her, and it was very important for all of us to graduate, not only graduate, but to go on to either the military or college, and so that we all would have opportunities. So that's why 17 of us went to college.
Wow. So you had how many siblings and how many went to college?
Okay, I really was the only child for my mother. My mother died when I was born. But my grandmother, who is Cleopatra Jones, raised me, so that's the only mom I know. She had 10 children of her own, and she had 12 foster children. Out of all those children, 17 went to college.
Wow. Incredible. Incredible. And that was back when?
She started raising children. The reason why she took the first foster child was so that she could send her first child to college. That was the real reason. She didn't know how she was going to be able to fund his education. So she went and asked her mom, who had raised foster children. She said, how am I going to send my child to school? And so she said, well, you need to have some children in your house. So she called the children's home was in Dobbs Ferry, New York. She called there, and she said to them, I want to hook my daughter up with raising children. She's very good at it, etc. Within a week, she had 6 children in her home.
Wow!
So those were the first 6 children. But we've been emergency home. We were emergency home all the time that I grew up. So I am a different type of person because everybody that I come into contact with, I have no distinction between sisters and brothers or foreigners. No one is not a friend to me. I feel like everyone is related to me because when a new sibling came into the house, she just introduced them and said, this is your new sister or brother.
That's right.
And you need to treat them like that. So I feel like I have a global family that I really don't see any segregation between sisters and brothers or people.
Sure. No, that's excellent. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
So, Delores, as a nonprofit, tell me, what do you need? What types of support could you use?
As a nonprofit, we need we always need monetary donations, obviously, but we also do gifts in kind. So anyone who wants to use clothing, food, we do food drives, all of those goods that go into the community to help the at-risk and impoverished area that we are in. But most importantly, I like people to come and donate their time so that they can see how fortunate they are. There are individuals that are living over in hotels in the area that I'm in. There's probably maybe 400 families that are living in hotels over in the area that I'm in. So people, when they come over, they can engage those individuals. They can feed them. We do feedings at night. And they get a chance to talk to them. I really like for the same kind of setting that I had when I was growing up, where all of us sat at the table. So there's no distinction. I give people good food. You can eat with us, sit down and conversate with the people that we serve, and you really come away learning a whole lot.
Excellent, excellent. So donation of time is very valuable.
Right. Time, money, and in-kind donations is the things that you can do to help us, yes.
Okay. And what is a common misconception or myth that people have with regard to not running a nonprofit, but supporting the homeless? What's a myth or misconception that people have about homeless? the homeless?
Well, a lot of people think that the homeless have no education or that they don't have any goals, that they're just existing. That is true. Some of them are, but some of them aren't. Some of them have been doctors. Some of them have been lawyers. Something has happened in their life that has caused them to become homeless, and then they just are in a stagnated state. And really years, months, days, years, and months go by before they even realize, gosh, I've been in homelessness for 15 years. Gosh, so they're stuck. And what it is that we do is we engage them and start to love on them so that they can get unstuck and so that we can start making them be productive citizens again.
Excellent. I love it. So let's delve into some of the questions specific to being an African-American woman in business. Let's talk about what your path has been like as you've navigated your entrepreneurship, so to speak. Can you share? No, go ahead.
Go ahead. No. Well, it's been an up and downhill. I won't go back to my Wall Street days because that's a whole nother lifestyle, and that was a whole nother concept of me. I will go forward from when I worked for President Carter going forward. And I think that's what mainly developed me into being the entrepreneur that I am now. Because I worked as an intern for President Carter, for President Obama, I worked for Mayor Franklin, and I worked for Governor Purdue. From each one of them, I learned something specific. President Carter, I learned he is a big person in compliance. He double T's, dots the I's. He makes sure that everything is up to par before he ever releases a dollar. So I learned that from him. From President Obama, I learned grassroots efforts. From Mayor Franklin, I learned compassion. She's the one who started Gateway, and her compassion for the homeless came from her father being homeless. So she really had a compassion. She really had an insight. She wanted to change the way homeless people were considered. She wanted it to go from homelessness to home ownership, to housing, and she really created that in the Gateway. It's just unfortunate that the players that were at the Gateway are not meeting her expectation. But she did put the seeds there for that. And then the fourth one is Governor Purdue. Governor Purdue, he had a vision for Georgia. He knew what he was walking into. For all of the college students at that time when I worked for two of them, Governor Purdue, President Carter, and President Obama, I was in college at that time. And Governor Purdue asked all of the student government chapters to come down to the Capitol, and he asked us to look at what the real crisis was. And the real crisis was that he didn't have a workforce for all of the people that he was bringing, all the jobs that he was bringing to Georgia. And he said that at that time, if we did not change the path we were on, we would be bankrupt. The state of Georgia would be bankrupt in 2010. Well, since that time, it's passed since that time, but he really wanted to engage us. He took our advice. He took our ideas. He wanted to really figure out a way to make college be very instrumental, be affordable, and a lot of people don't give him credit for that, but he really did try to do that. So, that's really the biggest thing that I got from Governor Purdue is to bring people together and to try to solve a dilemma and to really be honest about the dilemma is what really I got from him.
What impact you have, Delores, being engaged and involved with not one, not two, but three presidents, right?
Yes, I've met Bill Clinton also.
Okay. Wow. That's incredible.
Mm-hmm. So
go ahead.
President Obama, when I was with him, he wanted to hear everybody's viewpoint. So he came up with a internet system that you had to log on and you had to give your report. He didn't just want the head person's report or the captain's report or the manager's report. He wanted every single person's report. So every single person had a login into the system, and they had to give a report to the president. I thought that was phenomenal.
I agree. Yeah, to hear it from the horse's mouth at every level.
Right. So, and then he took everyone's viewpoint, and I thought that was phenomenal. That he actually did that was phenomenal. Even if it wasn't him exactly reading it, that he even made you feel like he was reading it. I'm sure that if somebody cited something and thought it would interest him, that they would have given it to him.
Sure. And so what did a day look like for you when you were working with President Obama?
Well, I took off that at that particular time. I was working I had graduated and was working full time, but I wanted so badly to be an intern for him that I convinced my job at Grady Hospital to allow me to work 3 days a week so that I could work 2 days a week for him. That meant I had to do double time during the 3 days and make up all my work so that I could go and work 2 days for him. But I didn't care. I wanted the opportunity, and so my day with him mainly was he had agendas. It was for organizing for America. The Obama for America was when he was running for president. Organizing for America happened after he became president, and so we worked on different agendas that the president came out with, and we tried to organize the Democratic Party so we did polls, and my county was Richmond County, and so I had to organize Richmond County to be behind President Obama's agenda. Whatever that was, whatever he said that was at the time, we had to push that agenda through. And it was very, very interesting. I never used the voting system, and to see how intricate it was for the state of Georgia was phenomenal. I mean, it was that well organized is absolutely phenomenal. They could produce plot maps of different streets and how many Democrats were on the street so that we could do canvassing. It was phenomenal.
Wow. No wonder he was so successful.
Yeah, he.
So, Delores, how did you get the opportunity to work with him on that campaign?
There was someone sent me I'll never forget Jeff Ingram. I had met him at one of the Obama for America rallies after the president became president. Then he sent me an email asking, did I want to be an intern? They kept trying to push me to become an organizer right off the bat, but I said, no, I wanted to be an intern because I would be in a different category than an organizer. I wanted to learn as much as I could versus them holding me responsible and accountable for something. I wanted to learn. So it was a phenomenal opportunity to actually see how all of it came together and see how President Obama started at the grassroots level and always went back to the grassroots level. Another ingenious thing that he did was that because he was a Democrat, he used all the Democratic headquarters across the country to put OFA in. So that way he didn't have to pay rent.
That's right.
I thought that was phenomenal.
Absolutely. Leverage. And so, Delores, what's your takeaway after working with President Obama?
My takeaway from working with President Obama is that he's just a phenomenal person. I mean, since he's been in office, second term, I wrote him at least 3 times. He's written me back. I just wrote him lately because I think he's going to do some phenomenal things when he gets out of office, like President Carter did, and I want to be on board. So I want to be right there when he's building his library, and I want to be on board with him when he does that. He is just, he's very insightful, he's very charismatic, and he is a very deep thinker, and he doesn't think he knows all the answers. He is willing to get input from a number of sources before he actually makes a decision. And I love that in the leader.
Excellent. So, Delores, as an African-American woman in business, can you share a tip about starting, staying, and sticking it through to reach a level of success for their business?
Well, starting a business is difficult, but you know in your gut if you should start the business. You can feel it. God keeps you up at night. You're looking at all the at your skill level, at your products that you're making. You know that it's going to make money, but you've tested it with your family, and your family loves it, and they think it's great. To step out and just say, I'm going to do this as a business, that's the hardest part. That's the $20,000 question that most people have the hardest time with, is to make that step. But once you make that step, I guarantee you that you will never regret that you made that step. Once you're in business and you're actually doing it, you have to make the choice at that point if you want to go full-time or part-time. And usually you'll start getting the inklings that you can go full-time, that this will actually make enough money for you to be able to survive, or that you'll get enough sponsorship that you'll be able to survive. And then to sustain that business, that is always the toughest, because remember, the market never stays the same. It doesn't matter if you're in nonprofit or for-profit, the market never stays the same. So you have to be a consistent innovator. You always have to be innovative, making new concepts, making your product run smoother, making the supply chain cheaper, but still keeping the same quality. And then also giving the customers what they need and what the market is demanding. So it's very, very simple equation, supply versus demand. You always make a product that's in demand, and you'll never go hungry. So, but it's always looking at the innovative ways to do that. So that's my recommendation, is that they get a plan, stick to the plan, and then follow through with the plan.
Excellent. So let's delve even a little deeper. What was hard for you? I mean, honestly, think about one of the most challenging times along the way in your business. What was hard for you, and how did you get past it?
What was hard for me is it's constantly evolving. Your business is constantly evolving, and you have to evolve with it, or you will not survive. So the hardest part is to see the next trend. It's almost like VHS versus beta versus VHS, right? And then it's like the CD versus VHS. There's no market share for VHS anymore. So if you stayed in that market and didn't transfer over to disc, then you went out of business. So it's the same concept. You're trying to sell stones when we're all selling diamonds now.
So specifically, right, no, that's an excellent example, but specifically, can you share something that you went through at a time along the way that was just hard with relation to your business, your nonprofit?
When I first walked through the door, I didn't know how we were going to survive. All I knew was that God was going to make it happen. I didn't know how we were going to survive. I knew that we were getting resources. I knew that I had already solicited hundreds of nonprofits that were my friends, because I went around the state for Governor Purdue. So I knew almost all the nonprofits, big nonprofits. Walking through the door that first day with the key, opening the key, that first door, my dad was with me. And I said, Dad, I don't know what this is going to bring, but we're going through the door. The place was a mess that we had rented. It was a mess. We cleaned the whole place up. We did all of the construction that was done. It must have cost about $20,000 for all the construction that was done in the building. But it was worth it because we were able to do a community center for the community. But when we walked through the building and looked at everything that needed to be done, and then the board came through each one of them and went, oh my God. I felt overwhelmed. I felt overwhelmed at that time. That was definitely going to be a difficult transition.
Yeah.
That's when I felt like I might have overstepped my bounds. I felt like that. I really felt like I might have overstepped my bounds when I walked through the building.
And how'd you get past that feeling?
Well, I got past the feeling because I knew that I had saved money from work, so I had a nest egg. Then I knew I was going to get my income tax because we opened the door in February, so I knew I was going to get my income tax. So I knew I could stay in this building for a year and a half and not make anything and be able to survive.
And that helps.
Yeah, that helps. That took that stress off. But I still was panicking because I didn't know how we were going to make it. And none of the nonprofits that I started with, quite frankly, only 5 of them actually stuck with me. 5. But you know what God said? After 3 weeks of coming over here, I was like, oh, God, this is not going to work. I pulled the covers over my head, and God said, how can I do anything for you if you're sitting here in bed? He said, I promise you, if you go over there, I will make something happen. But I can't make anything happen if you lay in the bed.
Yeah.
Just
and
go
how
over
many
there.
women can relate to that? I'm sure
Right,
our listeners right now are saying, I can relate to that.
Right. So he can't make anything happen unless you get up. So I got up, and he has brought a brand new person every single day through the door that I did not know the day before. Now I have thousands of friends that I didn't have before I started my business.
Yeah, I love that. So we have other black women that have accomplished great successes, like those I mentioned earlier. Others, such as Taraji P. Henson, Kamala Harris, Shonda Rhimes, and countless others. Can you, Delores, share a nugget to help women that are just starting in business?
Well, I have 5 points that I go by. Would you like me to share those?
These aren't your success tips, are they? No.
Let me give you. Oh, you want to save those? Okay. Okay. Then I'll give you let me give you a nugget that you can hang on to. And the nugget is, you have to pay attention to customer service. That is so key. I don't care if it's a homeless individual or if it's somebody who's spending $1 million with you. You should treat both of those customers exactly the same.
Oh, that is a great nugget. Absolutely. And what would you say is most important to have a successful business, if you had to just name one thing?
To have a successful business, you have to be willing to fight. I call it, I'm underwater every single day, and I am trying to reach the top in order to get oxygen. So I'm losing oxygen. I have to fight my way up to the top in order to get oxygen. You are going to fight the hardest when you have the most obstacles. You have to be that committed. When you're underwater and you're almost drowning, you're trying to get that last gasp of air, you are fighting for your very life, and that's what you have to do for your business. You have to realize that this business feeds you, this business takes care of you, you have to take care of it.
Oh, that's great. Yes. So if you could share something, Delores, with your younger self, let's say the 15 years ago Delores, about being in business, what would it be? What would you say to yourself?
I would say to myself that, what took you so long?
I love it. No, that's good. Elaborate. Go ahead.
When I was on Wall Street, I was in my 20s and early 30s, and I wasn't afraid of anything. When I got a little more complacent and my career got a little bit more complacent, and now you're starting to make money, starting to make a lot of money, you start to become very complacent, and you stop doing the things that made you successful. So what happened is when my mom was dying and I decided to go back to school, I forgot how to be successful. I didn't really forget how to be successful, if you know what I'm saying. I forgot what I knew how to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't applying the things that I knew that would make me successful. Why would I think I have to go get a job for somebody else when I already was a broker for myself for 15 years? Why would I feel that way?
Right.
I felt that way because my mentors would tell me I need a job. Mm-hmm. Instead of listening to myself and saying, you know what, I'm not going to go get a job. I'm going to do what I want to do. And instead of doing that, I went to work for, now, do I regret it? No. Because my job title was phenomenal, and I worked with some phenomenal people. That was when I went to work with Mayor Franklin when I got out of school.
Okay.
Was it a failure? No. But if I would have used my right mind, I would have just went and jumped in there and said, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this. And I would be so much further along.
Yeah.
But happenstance. Happenstance is happenstance, you know. If I would, you know, 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other, you know.
Yeah. So as I explained in the introduction, one of the greatest challenges African American women face in business is the lack of successful black women role models in their communities, in our communities. So let's talk now specifically about the unique challenges African American women business owners face. I'm going to go through a short list of about 6 different topics. If you'll listen, I'm sure you'll be able to relate and probably comment on each of them, but just choose one and share your experience with that, if you would. So the first one is family. Maybe you had a family that didn't understand your entrepreneurial walk. Friends, maybe you had friends that weren't in business for themselves, and so they didn't understand fully. Lacking relationships, like we just shared about Jessica Alba and the connections and relationships that she had. Many African American women don't have those types of relationships. And unfortunately, sometimes probably when we reach out as African Americans that are very successful, we don't always get those return phone calls and emails. Investing in ourselves. Typically, as African Americans, we don't follow personal development, and that can be challenging. And lastly, volunteering. Typically, as African Americans, the volunteering that we see happens within our church, and not necessarily as we're growing up as a family, feeding the homeless and you know, volunteering your services and your time. Did any of those jump out at you that you can speak to that may have been a challenge for you?
I think your friends they can be a double-edged sword. Sometimes we go to our friends for support that maybe we might not go to our family for support of. And your friends can really have an influence on some of your decisions that you're making without them even knowing that they're dampering what you're trying to do. They may not even realize that that's what they're doing, but and you may honor their opinion. You may really honor their opinion, but they didn't even realize they could even try to be, because of their negativity about whatever it is that you're talking to them about, they could even steal your dream.
Sure.
So friends can be, family can do it, but friends, especially good girlfriends. Mm-hmm. You know, your good girlfriend that we go out to dinner all the time, we talk. I mean, she really has a very deep influence over you. And if she sees that this isn't right, you know, because we talk about men to our girlfriends. Yeah. Well, when you talk about your business, you're feeling almost the same way as she's judging your man. And when she says, you know, that's stupid, or I don't like that idea, that's a stupid concept, you're like, oh, my God.
Especially, Dolores, if she is an employee or a state or government employee, just a total different outlook and experience, especially in the African-American community.
Right. Or if she's if you consider her to be the successful friend that you have.
Okay.
always has it going on, always has the right answer. If you consider her to be that, and then you tell her about it, and she looks at you and goes, "Oh my God, that's stupid," you're like, "Oh my God, you just deflated my whole balloon."
No, really, I love
it's a good product.
Yeah, and I mean, as people are listening right now, I know that they've either had that experience, felt that way, and it's crushing to your spirit.
I will just tell you that we just launched a jewelry line. It's designed by Fury. Fury allowed us to use her jewelry line as a nonprofit, as a fundraiser to raise funds for the nonprofit. So what I did is what I would do as an entrepreneur. I registered to get an eBay store. I registered to get an Amazon. I registered for all these other places, including now we're starting a website for it, so that we added it to our website so that people would be able to not only see Fury's designs, but also be able to sponsor us. So we have a GoFundMe, etc., using Fury's designs. Well, when I told my girlfriend that I was going to do that, and so she said, "Oh, that's stupid. Aren't you a nonprofit?" And I said, "Yes, I'm a nonprofit." So she said, "Well, why would you use some designers?" And I said, "Well, it promotes the designer, but her designs are exclusive to us." I said, "You don't think that's phenomenal?" She said, "No." I said, "Gosh." Yes. So if I would have listened to her, I would have just taken down the whole website. I mean, it would just stop doing what I was doing. But I said, no, let me keep moving forward, because eventually, I talked to a friend who makes millions of dollars on the internet, and she says, you have to start. If you never start the store or the idea or the concept, 3 years from now, it won't be a thriving business. She said, I started slow. She said, I didn't have sales right away. She said, you have to learn how to promote your store. She said, so you just take your day by day.
Yeah.
And that's what I do.
And that's the takeaway. Yeah. Even if somebody doesn't think it's a good idea, I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to try what's in your heart.
It's true. And guess what now, she says? Now the 2 stores are complete. Oh, that's a phenomenal idea.
Of course. Thanks.
Oh, now you get the concept. You get the concept now that I was trying to explain to you in the beginning.
Yeah. No, really. Oh, gosh, that is a great share. So, Delores, did you grow up in an entrepreneurial setting with, do you have entrepreneurs that you were able to glean from, or are you a first-generation entrepreneur?
No, my grandparents, now that you know that my mom is really my grandmother.
Sure.
My grandfather, who's my step-grandfather, he actually had a successful company for 43 years. So when I was a child, and I started working as early as the 5th grade, on Saturdays. I never forgot it. He gave me $5 on Saturdays. I thought it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And I would go down and I would be the secretary for the day.
Okay.
Then when I got in high school, I started doing days after school got out. I started doing some work down there, and then on the weekends. And so I learned entrepreneurism from my grandparents. Now that you know, they're my grandparents. But my dad, he worked down there too. So we all had to work down there. Can you imagine the manpower that they had for pretty much free with all those kids?
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Very
They
nice.
ran my grandfather had 6 trucks on the road, and all 6 of his sons were driving. 6 of his 8 sons were driving the trucks.
Excellent. Wow. Yeah.
So we didn't. So it all stayed in the family pretty much. But no, they were very fortunate. Now my grandparents, I grew up with them, so they were very, very fortunate. My grandfather got a contract with the VA. He was the only black to get this contract, and it wasn't affirmative action. It had nothing to do with that. Right. It was like 1943, and he could provide the product. So the product at that time to heat the 43 buildings that were on this campus, it's a huge campus, it's still there. It's the largest VA hospital in the country. It has 43 separate buildings on the one campus. It's huge. It has its own railway, etc. But anyway, he was having coal come directly from Pennsylvania to the hospital because that's how they heated each one of those buildings.
Wow.
And as a African American business in 1943, can you imagine making $5,000 a month?
Oh wow!
In 1943, that's like
an incredible amount of money back then.
Right, that was incredible. That was a phenomenal amount of money. So, needless to say, we kind of grew up spoiled.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we were kind of spoiled, but my grandfather was very frugal.
Well, let's keep moving, Delores.
Yeah. Yes.
So there are many articles online about entrepreneurs and their success stories and challenges they had to overcome, but there are very few current-day women. And when I say that, I don't mean celebrities. I'm talking about successful women in business in different states and different industries, attorneys, nonprofits, that we don't hear about, and what they've gone through, and definitely not specific articles sharing what African-American business women have gone through. So what did you do when you got stuck, overwhelmed, ran out of money, or possibly felt like quitting?
Well, there's been a couple of times I have felt that way, and I just came into the office. When I came in, someone came. But when I had a money crunch, I tried to make alliances with people who I knew I could go to in case I had a money crunch. For example, there's a couple of businesses around here where the owner of it is a mega millionaire. And I just I have a relationship with them. That didn't come overnight, though. But the thing is that you always have to be morally and ethically sound. If they can see your consistency in that, people are likely to support you. So if they saw that I'm consistent in who I am and my brand, they were more likely to support me. Plus, I was tenacious, and I wanted to. If that's what I wanted, I kept at them. If I needed the money, I kept at them. I know you have it, so it's just a matter of how to make you give it to me.
That's right. So
most of the time, I guilt them into it. That's terrible to say, but most of the time it was guilt. Did you see these homeless people? You saw them. You see them walking the street. So what are we going to do about that?
Absolutely. So, Dolores, what didn't you have when you were building your business that you wish you would have had?
I wished I would have had. You can never have enough money because if you're very innovative, I always have 3 or 4 concepts working all the time, and they get stunted because I don't have all the capital that I need. So I have to pablum feed them. Instead of, if I had the major influx of money, I would go full force and make everything happen at one time.
When you were building your business, you're speaking of.
No, I'm still always building it. I mean, the line that I just launched for Fury on our website, for our shops, that's a brand new thing. That's a brand new concept. To move into doing, we'll actually this year probably break off at least 5 different companies that I'm getting ready to formulate. Those will be broken off this year from Giving a Hand. Those will be for-profit businesses. Right now they're considered social enterprises. So it's always developing to make another product. I have another product that I'm getting patented that I ran over just by accident. I went to get something done at a fabricator. He said, "Stop talking to me. You can't talk to me anymore." I said, "What's that?" He said, "Because that doesn't exist." He says, "You're going to have to get a patent." So I'm working on a patent.
Yeah.
So, you know how fun that is? Yeah, you know how fun it is to say, "Wow, that didn't exist. That's something that I thought of. Okay, well, let's go get a patent."
That's right. Always evolving. I love it. Oh, gosh. So let's switch reels a little bit, have a little bit of fun. I'm going to complain for just a moment, and then we're going to move forward.
Okay.
So our black businessmen, they're showing us out, and that's not going to work. Tyler Perry Tyler Perry has his homeless to success story. Eric Thomas, the hip-hop motivational preacher, has his homeless to PhD story. So us ladies, we've got to get our stories out and document it so African-American women in business have some inspiration when they're feeling low, when they're searching online, to learn what other women did in challenging times. So let's just take a moment, kind of do this quickly, and together let's craft your, let's call it rags to riches story or your hero story. So if you start, give me a little something, and then I'll jump in and see if we can come up with craft a tagline for you. Like
oh gosh, you know what I used to say, and this is true. This is true. I went from welfare to Wall Street.
It's perfect. Oh my goodness, I love it.
I used to say that all the time. I went from welfare to Wall Street.
But did you actually go from welfare? Because it sounds like
yes, I did. Matter of fact,
good money.
Yes.
Your dad.
Yes, I did. Yeah, yes, I did. Matter of fact, I did. When when you're on Wall Street, you're trying to, you don't get paid right away.
Right.
So because I didn't get paid right away, I had to study for the exams, and when I was studying for the exams, I was on welfare.
Got you. Okay. You just crafted it all by yourself. I love it. So, Delores, tell me, there's a lot of talk about collaboration. What are your thoughts on collaboration instead of competition?
Gosh, I love collaboration. I am the biggest collaborator. The reason why I collaborate is because your idea and my idea are not the same. You enhance my idea. I enhance your idea. Why wouldn't we collaborate? I would rather have a piece of a dollar than no dollar. But if your business is going to enhance mine and my business is going to enhance yours, why wouldn't we work together? My whole concept, I have hardly no employees. My daughter's my only employee. Everybody else is a collaborator.
Yep.
Because I want them to be working on their business the same time they're working with me.
Absolutely. No, it's so true. And that's part of why I asked the question, so it will hopefully open the minds of our listeners just in case they don't have that outlook. One of the things I share with business owners that I work with, especially women, is how they can succeed without having to compete. And I show them how to do that a couple of different ways, but one I call the power of positioning, and positioning themselves in their niche, as the authority, as the expert. Everyone is unique. Whatever it is you're doing something different than someone else. So it doesn't matter if there's, 20 or 200 other accountants in the area or nonprofits. And another way that I help them see how that can be effective is by leveraging the media to build their brand. So I'm a big advocate of collaboration as well, and absolutely not having to compete with your competitor. So
that's exactly the way that we should be doing it.
Yeah. So how do you think we can move forward and turn that growing number of African-American women in business, that statistic that I shared, into successful million, multi-million, and billion-dollar businesses?
Well, first off, if we come together as a people, we really need to do that, come together as a people. One of the platforms that we have is a economic empowerment meeting. We have First Fridays for a Cause, where we bring African Americans together to talk about the things that we need to be addressing. For example, most of us, our credit is messed up. So we're talking about credit issues. How do we fix that? And that's the first place that we really start with new members. Let's talk about your credit. Let's fix that. But more importantly, let's come together as business partners, figure out how we can work together in order to get to a higher level. Is that education? So what topics do you want to discuss? Do you not know how to get a house? Do you not know how to get insurance? What is it that you need to learn? And then we kind of bring that to the group. That's what we all need to be doing. We need to be having these microcosm informational type meetings with our friends, even with girlfriends meeting together for dinner. 5 girlfriends meet together for dinner. Each one of them brings an idea to the table. Each one of them are business owners. Each one of them brings an idea to the table. How can we leverage our power as business owners? We may not have the same type of business strategies, but how are we going to harness that power to build ourselves to a higher level?
Excellent, excellent. So, Delores, what impact would you like to make as an African-American woman in business over, let's say, the next 10 years?
Well, one of the things that I want to do, I want to become the first Black Barter millionaire.
And what does that mean?
I bought a car on Barter. I've bought, they sell houses on Barter. They have all different kinds of things on Barter. Everything that's an ancillary item here that I need to have done, I try to barter it. So, for example, if I need an electrician, or if I need a plumber, or if I need someone to wax the floor or strip the floor, I try to have every single person that I associate with, I want them to accept barter also. And there's barter exchanges that it actually changes over into barter cash, so you can exchange goods into cash. So I really want to teach African Americans that platform. Why? Because if there's a fall of the dollar, they'll still realize that their goods and services still have value and that they can barter with that. They don't need to have to change it into a dollar. They can actually barter value to value.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And so at this juncture in your business, do you have a suggestion for Black women that are in business on how to approach or seek a mentor? I'm sure you're very busy. You have a lot going on. Can you share a nugget on how someone should go about seeking a mentor?
I have a number of people that come and ask me to be their mentor. And the reason why they are asking me to be a mentor is because they see I'm a mover and shaker. I'm constantly moving. Mm-hmm. If they came this week and they come back, I've totally, grown to another level where, a lot of people, I work all the time. I work 7 days a week, 17 hours a day. I only go home to sleep and then I come back. So with that, if you're only working 8 hours a day, you're not going to be able to keep pace with my 17 hours a day.
That's right.
And that's what I tell my mentees is that you have to be so passionate about what you're doing that it consumes you. Now, Is it healthy to consume you? No, but I just love what I'm doing, so it consumes me. I love to come up with creative ideas, with new innovative ideas. I love to try it. If it doesn't work, so what? I tried it. So you have to be willing to find somebody who is like that, who really wants to make an impact, who really has drive in their business, who is innovative, and who you want to emulate and who you admire.
And how would you suggest they approach a person? Can you give us a tip on that?
Usually people who are movers and shakers, what they like to see is people who have listened to them the first time. So if I engaged you and you said, well, I sure would like to get a book that would be, I sure would like you to get somebody to give me a suggestion on how to do something. And I say to you, well, my suggestion is that you do this. And you go, oh, okay, that sounds like a good idea. Well, if you come back and I say to you, oh, how did that go? And you go, how did what go? Well, I'm not a good mentor for you. But if you said, you know what? I thought about what you said, because that means that you see, so you're engaging me. That's kind of how I was with President Carter. Out of every intern he had, Delores was going to get in there and see President Carter. I worked in his office, but he didn't come in all the time.
Right.
If somebody was going to be around President Carter, it was going to be me. I was going to be sitting at a table. I was going to be the one in the picture. I was that person. So, when they see that, they people tend to gravitate towards that. He actually, the second time around, he made me almost cry because I was wanted to just be with him so bad that my manager said, she just told him that. She told him that. So what we did is when we went to Plains to go to church, he turned around and he put us, now he didn't have us in, the first time I went to Plains with him, he didn't have us in the pulpit, because we had to go to church with President Carter. Okay. So he didn't have us in the pulpit, he had us in the pews.
Okay.
And the second time, the choir's getting out of the pulpit, because my interns are going to sit up here in the choir seats. Nice. We sat up there, and he gave the Sunday school lecture, and then he turned around and he said, "I want to introduce you all to my interns," and he pointed right at me. I could have cried.
Wow, that is impactful.
That was phenomenal. So that made me feel so good that he actually listened. And that's what a mentor is. He listened, even the slightest little thing that he could make me feel like I was special. That's the thing that makes you always want to gravitate toward that person.
Yeah. So as we wrap up, Delores, can you share 5 success tips with us?
Oh, 5 success tips. Well, let me see here. Well, the first one is don't cut your nose off to spite your face. Don't step on other people's toes. Don't backstab. Don't backbite, because you never know what's on the other side of that. So don't cut your nose off to spite your face. The second is allow yourself to be wrong. And if you are wrong, be humble when you're wrong. If it's wrong and you get scolded by, even employees can scold you. So I told you my idea was right. so yeah, your idea was right. I'm sorry. Be humble enough to admit you're wrong. Always say you're sorry. Always say thank you. And always live morally and ethically. And that's the 5 that I have.
Excellent. And do you have 2 books that you can recommend that every woman should read?
Well, I think because I was raised, the first time I went to school, I went to school with nuns. Nuns are very aggressive. You don't think that they are they're very aggressive in the way that they teach women. They want you to be the best. They don't want to hear you sigh. They don't want to hear you crying. This is you have to be able to compete. So they want you to be able to be able to compete. So Land of Love and Drowning is one of the ones that I would recommend. It gives you a unique narrative about a lady's journey to being successful. Another one is The Bad Feminist. Nuns are very big about making you understand that you are a woman and that you can succeed. And so The Bad Feminist is an off-take of that. And my third, I just wanted to throw this one in.
I'm sorry, Delores. Can you spell that last book?
BADFEMINIST, Bad Feminist.
Gotcha. Okay, go ahead.
The last one is for the people after you graduate and you get your business under control. Susie Orman came out with The Courage to Be Rich.
Excellent. Thank you for those shares. And I sincerely thank you, and I'm honored to have interviewed you. Thank you for taking the time to give back, to share your journey, to share your stories. What a blessing. And I just salute you as a Black woman in business. Is there one nugget that you would like to share?
Well, always be true to your word. That's the best thing that you can be. You are your word. So always be true to your word.
And where can our listeners get more information about you?
We have a website. It's at givingahandinc.org. All of our social media, our website, and our email is Giving a Hand INC. So Giving a Hand INC on Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, and then our website is givingahandinc.org.
Excellent. Well, thank you for joining the show. And everyone, remember, lead with value and the revenue will follow.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.